Our Southeast Asia correspondent Anne Barker joins us live now from Bangkok. Now, Anne, this has been a dramatic 24 hours for Hakeem, who you spoke to, in fact, in prison just last week. Are we any closer to understanding why the Thais changed their minds so quickly?
Well, I think, Bev, it was very much about the damage that was being done to Thailand's image on the world stage. Clearly, the longer these negotiations went on, it was clear that neither side appeared willing to back down. Australia was continuing to lobby because of the global pressure from people in Australia, from human rights groups and so on. So then it became a question of how to find a way out, how to do that without losing face for both Thailand and possibly Bahrain. So there was a phone call made to the Bahraini government last weekend, and the Foreign Minister of Thailand then visited Bahrain also at the weekend. And that was the moment where Bahrain offered to withdraw the extradition proceedings against Hakeem al-Arabi. That was a solution that obviously would look as if it was coming from Bahrain and not from Thailand, and not therefore represent a back down. And Bahrain agreed to drop the case. That meant that Thailand simply had to go to court with its prosecutors and put in an application for the case to be stayed, which happened yesterday. And then it was a very quick process. Once the court agreed to drop the case, there was no reason to hold Hakeem al-Arabi any further. He was taken directly from the prison to the airport and placed on a plane back to Melbourne.
And as we just heard Craig Foster there, who championed his cause in a very big international campaign, saying that there were issues that still need to be addressed. Do you think there will be ongoing fallout in the relationship between Thailand and Australia?
Look, I think undoubtedly there will be, simply because of the tensions that have been exposed in the last week or the last few weeks. The fact that Thailand had vowed it would not take this action, it was not going to intervene in the case. The fact that Australia continued to push behind the scenes, even diplomatically and politely, but nevertheless continued to push. Thailand, of course, had blamed Australia for the red notice that led to Hakeem al-Arabi's arrest. It accused Australia at one point of failing to tell Thailand that he was even a refugee until a week after he'd landed in Thailand. There's obviously been considerable embarrassment to Thailand. Potentially there's resentment there at Australia being to blame for that as well. And of course it's exposed differences between Thailand and Australia on issues like human rights. The fact that Thailand isn't a signatory to the Refugee Convention, as Australia is, and also the just issues over the rule of law and what should have been pursued in the courts. So those are major issues that will have to be dealt with. But I think overall, in time, that will be sorted out. This is an overwhelmingly sound relationship between Thailand and Australia, and I think given a bit of time, it will be put behind both countries.
As you pointed out, it was Bahrain who was the first to accede, I guess, to the request and withdraw this extradition proceeding. But nevertheless, Bahrain has reaffirmed its right to pursue necessary legal actions against Hakeem, which makes him still in a very puts him in a precarious position.
Potentially it does. I mean, Bahrain has said that the guilty verdict against Hakeem al-Arabi still stands. He still faces 10 years in jail if he was to ever go back to Bahrain. Interestingly, the Foreign Minister of Bahrain actually held talks yesterday with Australia's ambassador to Bahrain. I understand that a dossier was handed over to the ambassador, effectively laying out the case as to why he should still be extradited from Australia. Now, that, of course, is never going to happen. Australia regards him as a refugee. It's granted him accepted his refugee status. It will not extradite him. But again, I think this is the way that Bahrain can save face here, saying that it's not dropping the pursuit of justice against Hakeem al-Arabi, even though it may now be taking the matter up with Australia rather than with Thailand.
And Barker, appreciate your update. Thank you so much. Well,
Thank you.
To a developing story now.